So how did you hear about this?
You have to go live in 2 minutes, right?
I'm live.
Oh, you are now?
Yeah. So anything you say is being broadcasted.
I was an undergrad at Cal in the 90s. And I spent a year, I took my junior year, traveled all over Asia, including Tibet. So when I came back, like everyone in their 21, 22, like my mind was open, taking classes and learning about so many things in the area. But then immediately after graduation, I moved to the East Coast. So 25 years on the East Coast. Last year I got back. This was one of the first things I wanted to do, but because of COVID, everything's still closed. So I've been checking the website very regularly and finding some in person. Maybe the word didn't get around,
Yeah, people are used to the COVID. They seem to prefer online. And also people come from very distant places. It's not just the local people. So usually we do a hybrid and there's only one or two people here and all the rest of the people are online. And it's a little, it's always tricky doing a hybrid one because you don't know where to look and who to talk to, because I got this small thing here, then I got real people there, So we'll see. Let's see who's here. Let me see if I can get that one on. So you can see who else is there too. Okay, I'll start the talk in a moment. I'm trying to turn on the big screen. No signal. Shall I do? It's going to be harder than it looks. Yeah, thanks. Okay, you're on screen too.
Oh, right.
That's the rest of them. So. What's your name?
Craig.
Santosh. I'll introduce myself to the rest of them too. 6:01, I'm 1 minute late, but I'm here. So let me turn my phone off. Good. So good evening and welcome to the Dharma talk. We have one person live here, the rest of you online. Let's see who's here. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Let's give it a few more minutes. People trickle in sometimes a few minutes late. Let's see, I'm going to put it to one side so I can look at you and that. The lighting is horrible. Okay, I think we will start off. Welcome everyone. My name is Santosh Philip. I will be giving this talk on the gift of work. So let me introduce myself first. I am an instructor here. I teach meditation, Kumne, Tibetan yoga. I also teach Dharma studies topics, and I have taught skillful means, which is the subject of this talk, for many years. So that's a background on me. I have been teaching for, I think, 23 years or so, quite a while. How's my sound coming through? It's good, no? Okay. Yeah, good. We got good good microphones here. Okay, so I must say that if this topic was meditation or Tibetan yoga, Kumne, I would have been very confident about making this talk, both as a practitioner as well as in terms of teaching. But this topic, I'm not on the top of my game, which may be good for you because I may explain it in much simpler language. So I'm hoping to make that an advantage rather than a disadvantage. So let me just read from the description of the talk. So I'm going to give a talk on the gift of work. And it's a little startling to think of work as a gift rather than as a way to earn your living or put food on the table. So the question is, can work truly do more than the mundane? For most of us, not. Work is just work. So this is a newly released book. Let's see how it turns up on the screen. Called The Gift of Work. It's a republication and a retitling of an older book. And the book has been updated quite a bit. So I will be talking about the book and about the subject of the book. Let me get off this. Okay, I must apologize. I'm talking to the screen, not much less to you. So this, when this book came out, I was really struck by the title, The Gift of Work. And that's what inspired me to give this talk. Because I looked at the book and I kind of got a subtly different take on the topic than what I had before. Because it presents work in a very different light. There is a lot of classes, publications on how to make yourself more efficient or effective when you work, such as how do you manage your time, how do you schedule things, how do you work with your co-workers, all the normal things that you do in work. All of that is there in this book, but there is something more to this book. And this book claims, in fact, the title itself seems to indicate that. This book claims, and I will make it as a statement, it makes a statement that work is essential for your life itself. Take a moment and think of that. Is that actually true? Yeah, it's essential because, I need to earn a living. I need to pay my rent, eat food. So yeah, one could say it's essential. But this is meaning something else. And I want to tease at that and ask a couple of questions about the topic. And in your mind, you should also ask the same question in your own life. And let's see what we come up with. Is work really essential to life itself? What does that phrase even mean? So I was thinking about this and I considered the possibility that if I never had to work, oh, we have more people coming in.
Santosh?
Yes, I'll open the door. So we have more people physically coming to the talk, and I had to open the door. Grab a chair, take a seat. So where was I? Yeah. So I was asking the question to myself, what if I never had to work? My first reaction is, man, cool. I can do all the stuff I want to do. But let's pause a moment, pause a moment. Think, and here I'm just doing a thought experiment. Think of the people who never have to work. If you have inherited a lot of money, if you got wealthy parents, you kind of don't have to work. And then I was thinking about that and thinking, what happens to those people? How do they behave? What happens to their mind when you don't have to work? And what's jumping into my mind is some of the people I kind of know about who are into drugs, wasting their, just spending their time doing nothing particular, and have all kinds of mental issues. But that may be my perception, it may not be true. So I want you to ask the question in your own mind is, what happens if you never have to work at all? What happens to your life? Your initial reaction is, it's going to be good not to work. But day after day, you don't have to do anything productive. You don't have to, nothing you do is contributing to the universe. When you think of it that way, you kind of consider that a little differently. Maybe there's a problem with not working. You wake up every morning and there's actually nothing to do. Put yourself in those shoes. First couple of days is great. Maybe first month is great. But it keeps going, it keeps going. Aren't you likely to actually do something that is productive, even if it is just keeping your body healthy? Which actually is a job by itself. Or are you likely, since you seem to have a lot of resources, are you likely to look around and find a way to put it to some use? Well, if you do that, suddenly you're working, right? So in my thought experiment, it seems like we need to work, of some kind of work. I don't know what happened with your thought experiment as you considered this. Since I have my audience in front of me that can speak without turning on the microphone, please turn on the microphone. What do you think of my thought? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm living that thought experiment, and you are 100% right. When you don't have anything to do, you end up becoming a little bit of a wastrel. You end up doing drugs because you're bored. It's not a very fulfilling life.
That's what it seems like. Most of us actually don't live this life because we have to work. But when you do the thought experiment, it seems to go in an unexpected direction. So that's an interesting insight. Anybody online want to? Yes, Donna, go ahead and turn your microphone on.
My experience is that I've worked with women and actually with men too, but people who have never worked, never are they never develop confidence.
Ah,
It's they if you were young and you skin your knee,
uh-huh.
you learn about skinning your knee, that it
Yeah,
hurts.
yeah,
But if you wait until you're 20 years old or something to skin your knee, I'm using that as just an
yeah, yeah.
example, um, then it's a totally different experience. It's a totally different experience. Instead of learning the confidence that doing something when you're young and getting the satisfaction, the self-satisfaction of learning that you've done something correctly for yourself. It,
Yeah,
it's just a sad thing.
yeah. I was actually thinking if I skinned my knee for the first time when I was say 25, I would have freaked out. It never happened to me. I didn't know it could hurt that much. It doesn't really hurt that
Exactly.
much, but yeah. So let's see. Wan Ying, if I said your name right.
I had two thoughts when I was thinking about this. First was that I would imagine, your karma has a lot to do with it as well. Like I think I lean more towards the perspective that people without, if you had really rich parents and never had to work, that you would, choose degeneracy or something like that. But I've also seen people kind of have more freedom to choose art and do other things that were maybe not economically um, viable, but interesting. And then for me personally, I in my early 30s, I was really fixated on this idea of retiring early, and I think a lot of people in my generation we are fixated about it because a lot of our work is so unfulfilling in some ways, or so detached from true work, like things that actually are, that are needed in society. And I think it's also one more thing just to escape, right? Like I think I will be happier if I leave work, but I soon realized that was not a way out, that was not a way out of my own suffering.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. Um, it you make a couple of interesting points. You said that I could, of people who do interesting things, things that they wanted to do, which you couldn't if you had to do a job that you just went to earn the money and you don't have time for anything else. But notice that if you're doing interesting things, be it art or something else, it has all the qualities of work, productive work, but it has the qualities of work. It has all the obstacles of work. It has the possibility of failure. It has the possibility of experimentation. All of that comes in. So even if you don't have work, if you are still successful, you still do work. Maybe it's one of your choosing. And all the real life issues of actually doing work suddenly turn up. So, but you brought up another point. Before I go on that topic, anybody else any comments or any thoughts? Lisa.
Yeah, a few things. I was actually thinking about how my father-in-law, who recently died, he had a stroke, and so it kind of incapacitated him for a while at the end of his life. But up to that point, he was always trying to come over to our house to do like work in our yard. Like, it was very important for him to have industry and meaning and to see himself reflected in something industrious, I feel like. And so, I think that there's something to that. And then one thing that kind of came to mind, and I can't add any extra insight to it, but there's this koan called in Zen, No Work, No Food. And it's about a teacher who was elderly, and the students were like, they wanted him to take it easy. So they like hid his hoe, and he just stopped eating. And they were like asking him to eat. He's like, well, no work, no food. And so I think that there's something to that as well.
Hello, come in. grab a chair, take a seat. We're still having people trickling in. Yeah. So let's, all of you are making good points. I think we are kind of on the same page on this. There is something to not working that is negative. But there is also something to what if you have to work. Most ordinary people have to work. And let's say you got a job that you hate for whatever reason, or you wound up hating it. May not have started that way, or you started that way. So what is this work you speak of? Every day I go there and I really don't want to be there. What kind of a gift is this you're talking about? Right? There's something about that. Or let's take the other possibility. That you actually have a job that you love. Or you have a project that you love. You really wanted to do this. Then as in all real life things, a small obstacle turns up. Or somebody you are, usually when you do a job, you have to work with other people. Somebody you're working with is rubbing you wrong or you're rubbing them wrong. So little discomfort starts to happen. And a couple of more discomforts start to happen. Now you start to get a little demoralized. So maybe even in the most interesting job, over time, it seems to deteriorate a bit. Again, this may reflect your experience because all of us had things that we really wanted to do, and it doesn't go quite the way we thought it would go. So that brings up a question. What do we do about that? What made that happen? This was supposed to be such an interesting task. What made that happen? What made it not so interesting? And the other one is that you are on a job that is, you just don't want to go to the job. There you ask the question, why is it you don't want to do that job? There could be very valid reasons why you don't want to do that job. One is that job you're doing itself may be very negative. It may have negative consequences. And there are jobs like that. Or it has negative consequences. You could be a gun runner. I'm making it up, but there's a Nick Nolte movie where he's a gun runner. Pretty cool movie. But actually, his job looked very interesting. But it had significant negative consequences. He did the job pretty well. I forget the name of the movie, but I saw it by accident and I really liked the movie. But that's not the kind of job you want to have. So you may have a job by its very definition is, even though you like it, it may have a lot of negative consequences, which may have implications. So over time, you may not want to do it, or you may want to do it. But that's a different matter, that if a job is fundamentally negative, that has implications. And that comes up if you go back to the Buddha's, the path that Buddha set out. One of the elements in it is that you pick, the term is translated, comes across like this, you pick the right livelihood, among other things. There are 8 things that he says, and one of them is you pick the right livelihood. And the word right it doesn't translate very well. It actually, another word you could use, you pick the correct livelihood, the correct way of doing things. That's a more complex way of putting it, because what is correct? How do you do this correctly? But that doesn't tell you how to do it. It just tells you, try not to pick the wrong task, because that fundamentally is going to create a problem. So let's say we didn't pick the wrong task. We got something we are interested in, or we got something we are not interested in. We don't want to go to work. And we have some excuses as to why, or some explanations, not say excuses, some explanations as to why you don't like to go to work. Even in the best job, there are days you don't want to go to work. I see a hand coming up. Anna, Anna, we're going to say something? Yes. Oh, your microphone's off.
Going to, since people are sleeping over here, I'm gonna go close to, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you,
No?
yeah. We can all hear you.
Okay. As you were speaking, I thought sometimes we lose interest in things because we're not present enough. That's what I found,
Aha.
that the same activity that I liked before, I might not be so interested in because for some reason I remove myself from it, I withdraw. And then, of course, I don't engage as much and it doesn't surprise me. And that can happen in relationships too. It's really a challenge, I think, sometimes. But when the times I could have that shift in my head from not being present to being present, I always found a refreshing connection to whatever it was, be it a person or an activity.
Anna, you're getting ahead of the game. I haven't got to that part of the talk yet. But we'll get there. So I had a couple of questions in the comments. Wayne says you have to have some bad to appreciate the good. You have to work to appreciate relaxing. That is true. That is true. There is, who was that? Donna said, if you had no experience with working or with anything, that itself is detrimental. But let me take this conversation a little forward. And I'm gonna pick one of the, turn this off, one of the cases I put out there, and I said, let's pick the bad one. You have a job that you don't like. 9 to 5, you got to be there, and you have to be there. So you turn up, you do the job, and then you come back to relax. You didn't like what you were doing all day. We can ask a question, why is it you don't like it? And you will, since you don't like it, you'll definitely have an answer. You'll say, oh, the commute is too hard. I have to drive for so long. The traffic is horrible. I don't like the people there. And I actually don't like the fact that I have to sit all day to do the job. So you'll have many, depending on the job, you'll have many particular reasons why you don't like it. But you could also ask, why is it you don't like the people there? What happened? Why is it you don't like sitting and working? What made it something that makes you unhappy? And sometimes you don't know why you don't like it. You just don't like it. Or you have, let's take the other example. You have a project or a task you really wanted to do. And over time, you lost that enthusiasm, lost that energy. Obstacles come up and suddenly it's not so exciting. Why did that happen? Why did that happen? Okay. The talks here, we always do a practice to make it real. So let's do a practice that may give us some guidance on this. And this practice is from the book. And it's actually the very first exercise in the book. And we'll just sit and do it, and I will read a couple of instructions of the practice. The exercise is called Inner Clarity. So I'm claiming that if you have a job that you don't like, or you have a job that you like, that you're not suddenly liking as it goes along, and you don't really know why that happened, it may be a lack of clarity, which makes sense. You can't quite see what happened. So this exercise is called inner clarity. It's a very lightweight exercise, kind of easy to do. And I'll read a few lines from it. When we begin to look clearly at our inner nature, we gain a perspective on our development that frees us to grow. This clarity is the beginning of self-knowledge. And then it tells you how to do this. It can be developed simply by watching the activity of our minds and bodies, both. Simply by watching the activities of our minds and bodies. Really? But we need to try it out. Let's do it right now. You're listening to a talk, I'm giving a talk. Our minds and bodies are doing things. Watch your mind and your body. I'll give you further pointers on how to do that, but you can do it in very simple language. It's my mind, it's my body. Let me see what's happening in it. So go ahead. Let's sit in silence for a few moments. Watch your mind, watch your body. And as you're watching, I'll read a few more things, and your mind and body may respond as you hear these words. Let it happen. You can practice this inner observation wherever you are, whatever you're doing. And right now we're just sitting. Easy. You can practice this inner observation wherever you are, whatever you are doing, by being aware of each thought and the feeling that accompanies it. This is more specific. Let's try that out. Wait, I have no thoughts. What happened? No, I have thoughts. Okay? Watch that thought and notice the feeling that comes with it. You can be sensitive to how your actions affect your thoughts, your body, and your senses. Really. So keep at it, don't drift away, keep at it, in whatever way you can sense it. Watch your mind and your body, because when you have a thought, your body responds very subtly. And you have a different thought and your body responds differently. And we have a lot of thoughts, so you have a lot of stuff to work with. Unless suddenly your mind stops and says, I have no thoughts. Unlikely, huh? And do this as though you don't know what's going to come up. So you're like an explorer. Because we rarely look at it with this kind of observation. So I'm going to stop speaking for a few minutes. But don't drift away from this. Stay at it. Watch what comes up. It also says that thoughts, you will notice what actions affect your thoughts. And notice, you're sitting, you're not doing any actions, but there is some movement. You picked up a pen, you touched the bridge of your nose. Your mind moves when that happens. You can be sensitive to how your actions affect your thoughts, your body, and your senses. Does that mean your eye moves to something when you get a thought? Yes, it does. You will notice this. Does your ear listen differently? Oh. Can you smell a problem coming up? Your sense of smell might tell you, this is not a good situation, although really no smell is happening. You see how your whole being starts to be engaged when you observe in this way. Okay, so this we did briefly. Keep doing it. As I'm talking, continue to observe, because you're going to respond, to react to even my words. Your mind is going to react, your body is going to react. So you're watching very sensitively. On the surface, of course, you're not reacting, you're just sitting there. No, but inside, things are changing. Things are moving. When you observe your inner nature thoughtfully, you will see just how much you have held in, how locked up your feelings and true nature have been. You can then begin to unlock these feelings, releasing the energy they have held within you. By being calm and honest, by accepting yourself, you will grow in confidence and learn new and more positive ways of looking at yourself. Wow, that's a little deeper than we expected here. But we might have to do this a little longer for that to kick in. You wouldn't know until you try it, so you have to try it now. But the instructions are very simple in a way. It's a one-liner. It says, this can happen by watching the activities of your minds and body. That's it. So it's easy to remember. And you, just like Donna talked about, if you don't have experience in doing this, it can be surprising. And you may not have the skill to do it. Like if you fell down for the first time and skinned your knee when you're much older, it's kind of shocking. I have a cat in the background who was not supposed to come into this room. It's bothering me. You see, my thoughts and body and it's been bothering me for some time because I have to get up and get the cat out. So don't do anything. I'm just putting this as an example of how thoughts and body, and I'm trying to give the talk, so it's all mixing up here and I can sense it. I can sense a little tightening in my belly and this little agitation in my legs because I want to get up and take the cat out. And I don't know, and it's very clear from the cat that she is not allowed here and is taking full advantage of this and is saying to infinity and beyond, I'm here. So I'm playing this out because there's a real problem here, and I'm talking about it as a way of expressing, yeah, this happens, and your body and mind react. So in gratitude to the cat, we'll let it be inside for some more time. Okay, I'm going to pause for a moment. That was interesting. And cat, thank you. The cat's now confident. When the cat stepped in, it knew it was doing something wrong. Now it's like, they didn't stop me. Now I'm right. It's going out. It had enough. Okay, let's get back to our minds and bodies. Cat's mind and body can go. Cat's left on its own. So I have two more exercises, and so I just want to open it up for just to hear from you. How did that go? But let's keep it brief so that we have time for the next practice too. Any thoughts, comments? I'm talking to the audience in front of me. Sometimes hard to talk about it because we don't look at our minds and bodies this way. So it's a little new. It's a little new. Anybody on the screen? Or anybody here? Okay.
Yeah, I noticed a couple things. When I'm thinking about something, when there, like, my mind is working on something, it feels like it's enjoying it, and my body is less restless. But there's more energy in my head. But when I'm kind of looking for new thoughts, then like that, and like my body starts to act up more. I might start to shift around a little bit. I might start looking around. But when it's very content with what it's working on, I can just kind of let it be.
Yeah, yeah. So this is, we had a very contained laboratory where we were testing it. We were just sitting here and we are looking at this. But let me play out another scenario. You went to work and you saw that guy you didn't like. You never liked him. And your body and mind react. You normally don't observe this, but when you observe this, you will see how your body and mind react. And then you will see what you did after that. So in a real situation, it can be a lot more comes up, but it's best to test it in a simpler situation like right now. We were just sitting and observing our mind and body. So you need training wheels. You start exploring this slowly. Anybody online want to make a comment, thoughts? Okay. Anna, turn your microphone on.
Yeah, I was just thinking, as you mentioned, this situation of meeting somebody that you don't like, and how and that we can pay attention to what's going on in our bodies. I thought this can be one very useful information, because sometimes, at least in my experience, I'm late at realizing what's going on. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh, this started before and it comes up now, but if I had paid attention to what I felt at the beginning, I wouldn't have come so far in this conflict. The conflict would have never happened with this person, for example.
Absolutely.
So I'm just thinking it's a wonderful tool.
Absolutely. You make a very good point, and I'll elaborate on that a little bit. You said something very interesting. You said that this started much earlier. Now, I'm going to take that and tease it apart. The conflict started much earlier, and by now it's become really bad. And if I had seen it starting, it wouldn't have become this bad. I'm too late. Now, I'm going to turn the volume up on that. I'm going to say something else. Before a thought comes up, your breath will change. And depending on the nature of your breath at that moment, this may be a little beyond your practice level, but I'm just going to put it out there. And as you continue, as you do this, you'll get good at this. As your breath changes, you know what's going to happen because you're familiar. This has happened before. So I'll give an example. I just got angry, okay? By now, I'm already angry. It's too late. Forget why I got angry. I'm angry already. If I walk back in time, there was a point when I was not angry. Something happened that became angry. Before I became angry, my breath changes slightly. And now, by the time I'm very angry, I have an angry breath. Remember, if you think about it, your breathing is different when you're angry. Your breathing is different when you're sad. Your breathing is different when you're depressed. So I'm taking what Anna said as you build up clarity, you will see things early. When you see things early, they do not develop quite in the same way. I just want to put that out there. And not too hard to do this. Is as you observe, you'll notice this. And I said breath, it could be just the body itself. You can sense your body like tensing up in a particular way, and then at one point you got an angry body. When you say angry, you actually have an angry body. There's a particular way of holding your body when you're angry. And you got a very different way of holding your body when you're depressed. And actually, you can work it in reverse. You move your body as though you're depressed and keep it there for some time, you'll get depressed. So you see, the body and mind are so closely connected, but what this exercise is doing is it's making these connections apparent to you, and now you have clarity, and you start to see why your work is going a particular way, why you hate your job, why you liked your job and now don't like it so much. All of this starts to become apparent. But this takes skill. It takes a bit of practice. But this particular exercise, you can do it at any time, no matter what you're doing. So this is, well, this practice itself is a gift, in a sense, to have this ability, to build up this ability to see in this way. Ooh, I'm running out of time. I want to do in the next practice. I'm picking the first three practices in the book, just as an easy way in. The second practice, and we'll do this, we'll do it a little briefly. This practice is called light-hearted concentration. Okay? It says, once your inner perceptions are clearer and flowing, concentration will help you direct your energy where it is needed. Okay, we added a new element to this. This concentration is not a stringent, not a tight concentration. It's relaxed, almost casual. So this is the feel for this, and we'll go into this. Your attention is focused, not rigidly, but with a light-hearted, enjoyable quality. Well, we're not at work, so how do we practice this? So I'm going to give you a job, so you have work to do. And I want you to keep a light-hearted concentration on this. So take a moment and think of the word light-hearted concentration. And the speaker is giving us a job. He's going to tell us to do something. You don't have to do it. Just because he said do it doesn't mean it's very important. So it's light-hearted to start with. Consequences are not significant. So let's do it light-hearted. And what we'll do is we'll do the beginning of a Tibetan yoga movement practice. And I'm going to say that this is your job now. What you're going to do is, camera's not good enough to do this, but let's see. I'll speak it out. Your hands are on your knees, whether you're sitting on a chair or otherwise. Your head is facing straight forward. This is your job. I want you to slowly slide your right hand forward on the knee and draw your left hand back on your thigh, coming towards your hip. Your shoulders will move, but your head doesn't move. It's looking straight forward. That's your job. And then you're going to switch sides and move it the other way. Move really slowly. Do it with a light-hearted concentration. You figure out what that means. Just do it with a light-hearted concentration.
Sorry, can you repeat the movement? I didn't quite get it.
Doesn't matter. Any movement is fine, but I'll repeat it again. Your hands are on your knees. You move your right hand forward, move your left hand back. The right hand moves forward, so your right hand is, oh man, this camera is not catching anything. Your right hand moves forward, your left hand moves back. That's basically it. Yeah. So that's your job. You're going to do it with light-hearted concentration. And notice the quality of doing that. Do it with a light-hearted, enjoyable quality. You can develop, and I'm going to keep talking as you do it. You can develop this concentration at work by doing one task at a time, devoting all your attention to what you're doing, being aware of each detail involved. Maintain the concentration on one task until you're finished, and then take on another task and continue the process. You will find your clarity and insight deepen and become a natural part of whatever you're doing. So that's it, just light-hearted concentration. You're not trying to achieve anything. You're doing only one thing, which is moving your hands on your legs. Your shoulders move by themselves. And a quality of enjoyment starts to come in because you're doing only one thing, and there you are. Okay, come out of that. I'm actually under time pressure right now. So I wish I had a little more time on this. And if you do this longer, that quality of enjoyment starts to really develop. You may have just about tasted the beginnings of it. So I'll just go with that. Any quick feedback on that? Any comments?
It was hard for me to figure out what level of concentration was lighthearted. At first I was like just way too intensely concentrated, and then I felt like, oh, now I'm not concentrating enough. It's difficult for me to nail that in.
Yeah, so that's one of the learning curves. You're playing with this to find out, where does it become enjoyable? What is lighthearted? Do I know only one kind of concentration? There are many kinds of concentrations. That's interesting. Okay, people on those rectangles on the screen, do you have anything to say? Okay, I will continue. Nobody's responded yet. I will continue with this. So now you take this light-hearted concentration, and I'll read a little more. With greater, so what happens is, as you continue doing this, and tomorrow you can start with whatever you're doing. You go back home, you got to do the dishes, you got to make your bed, you got things to do. That's like work. Do it with the light-hearted concentration, one at a time. Notice how your enjoyment of what you're doing, something that you may not even like doing, will actually kick in whether you like it or not. And you may actually resist saying, I'm not supposed to like doing the dishes. Why am I enjoying it so much? That'll actually happen. It has nothing to do with whether you liked it before or not. There is something in the quality of the concentration, this lighthearted concentration and this clarity, that has an inherent enjoyment in it. You see how work is changing now. And actually you get better at what you're doing, which is an added bonus. So I also want to give you things you can do and take away when you leave this talk. So you play with this, and you may find inherent in this act, in this kind of concentration, is an enjoyment of both body and mind that you may not be able to describe until you dip into it. That becomes very interesting because you say, that means maybe I can enjoy almost anything I do. Really, I got to test this out. That's how you take it. You have to test it out, try it out. But I got 7 minutes left. I want to pick up the last topic, which is very important, because what this does, with greater ability to concentrate comes mindfulness. So we have not yet got to mindfulness. We are getting to mindfulness. With greater ability to concentrate comes mindfulness, an awareness of each nuance of feeling and thought, of each action that is performed. Mindfulness is the combination of concentration, clarity, and awareness brought to bear on even the smallest details of experience. Now, this is a little advanced. This takes a little work to get there, but it comes naturally if you develop the light-hearted concentration and the clarity we talked about. It will simply happen by itself. So the next exercise is effective mindfulness. We don't have time to do it. I wasn't planning to do it, so it's okay. But I'd like to read a bit on that. Mindfulness ensures that whatever you do will be done to the best of your ability. You can develop mindfulness by concentrating your clarity and intelligence on your work. You see how now the work has become the gift. If you did not have work, you cannot develop this ability. And you can develop this ability by simply practicing meditation and other things like that. But work is a superb medium to do this because work always gives you feedback. You can develop mindfulness by concentrating your clarity and intelligence on your work. Observe how you go about doing a simple task. You can do this tonight or tomorrow. How do you begin? How do you proceed? Do you actually understand what you want to do? Are you looking ahead to where this task will take you? Consider the effects of your actions from a broader perspective while observing every detail of what you do. Are you aware of the effects of each step you perform? All this starts to naturally come about. Because to be effective, especially on a complex task, you have to see the bigger picture, you have to see the details, and you have to make sure things are not breaking as you're doing it. Many tasks have this, especially if you've never done it before. If you've never done it before, what's your plan? What do you really intend to do? How do you set the pieces together? Now mindfulness starts to come in, and you are using work as a way of developing your mindfulness. And that mindfulness starts to permeate all the things you do now, whether it's work or anything else. Or as Anna said, even your relationships need mindfulness. Mindfulness is like a muscle. You got to develop it. Work helps you develop it. When you work with mindfulness, your movements are fluid and graceful. Your thoughts are clear and well organized. Your efforts are effective. Because you're deeply in tune with each stage of your work and the consequences of each action, you are even able to predict your results. It keeps going on that way. Maybe we need to develop mindfulness. Okay, so we got about 4 minutes left in the talk. So, for a topic that I'm not an expert on, I didn't do badly. That was okay. I think it is because I was not an expert on it. I did well. Okay, so where does this leave you guys? Any last thoughts before we close it down? Let me hear from the rectangles on my screen. Anna, microphone, yeah.
I loved the moving of the arms. That exercise, it's so simple and it's perfect, and you can do it anywhere, and it brings you right into all the sensations and the awareness. It connects you to the present moment. It's fantastic. Thank you. I liked it.
And we didn't even do it as an exercise, so you can actually do the same thing when you're brushing your teeth. Or as I said, when you're making your bed. Or when you're walking down the street. How can you make that work when you're walking down the street? If you could make it work when you're just moving your arms. You see how powerful it becomes now. It was that quality of clarity and concentration, the light-hearted concentration, that changed the whole thing. But yes, I don't want to take away from the power of this practice. This actually is a powerful practice. We didn't really do it. There's a little more to it. But yes, that's all there is. That's all the practice is. You do it very slowly, you do it 3 times, and you sit for 5 minutes at the end. That's the practice. But what happened to you happens with the practice. Yeah. What else? Anything else? Everybody's in deep thought. They're all thinking, there is something here. I think the book is actually out of print. Somebody tried to buy it and they couldn't get it, but it's available on Kindle. That doesn't go out of print. Meaning all the ones they printed got sold out, so they had to print it again.
Can you say the name of
Yes,
it
sir.
or write it in the chat?
Say again, I didn't hear you, Lisa.
Can you say the name of the
Oh,
book or write it in the chat?
Say that again.
oh, that was Anna, or Anna. She
The
was
name
wondering
of
what
the
the name of
book.
the book is.
I'll just type it in the messages.
Yeah, what I was just gonna share is that I was just thinking how important setting a motivation at the beginning of the day to remember to do this is so important. And that, because I get swept up in, especially when it comes to work specifically, like paid work, and into the rush of everything. And so to remember to do this and not get swept up is gonna be like, is like that challenge. That's a challenge for me.
Yeah, we're pointing to something else, which this exercise doesn't quite touch directly. This exercise does help. But in the second chapter, there is an exercise on how to work with time and how do you set the rhythm of the time for your day. And then you stay in that rhythm with mindfulness. And suddenly the whole day becomes, it's like you get more done. I don't have time to read that practice, but if you do get hold of the book, it's I think in the second chapter. It goes very quickly into really effective stuff. So I leave that to you to discover how there are multiple practices in this that are spookily effective. You look like you have a question.
I just had a remark. What I experienced was something very unexpected and strange, which was that these practices and especially trying to concentrate in a lighthearted way, I think what I felt was that I was able to create a sense of meaning spontaneously, and I think it was a feeling of meaninglessness that would create an alienation from work or any activity.
Yeah. It's actually what creates that alienation is the disconnection. This practice that you did, even though I didn't tell any of this, it brings you back in connection with your mind and your body. Mostly because of the way you did it. Because the moment it was so simple, like you say, why should it work? You connected the body, mind, and senses, and suddenly you cannot be alienated. You are in contact with yourself and the universe. That's what happened. That's what happened. Yeah, and you describe the effect of it. Yeah, totally. Okay, we're 2 minutes ahead of time, so we have to bring this to a halt. So. We actually do this at the end of any practice, actually, not a talk, but let's do this. This is because we did practice. What we do is whatever benefit that came from doing the practices, we got the benefit. Each of you got the benefit. You say in your mind, I'm going to give this benefit away to somebody who needs it, okay? Think of somebody or think of the whole universe. Give it away without holding back even slightly. And notice how your body and mind feel when you do that. Just give it off as though they can get the same thing. Okay, that's how we close. All right, thank you for joining us. And play with this. See how it goes tomorrow and today. Just two practices you play with. One is the clarity, where you're just observing your mind and body. And the other practice is a separate practice. Do lighthearted concentration. They will come together, but you can, when you start, you got to do them, by itself. And see how it goes. You may find a certain momentum of doing this develop. I mean, you may even find just these two practices alone are enough. Sometimes it works that way. You don't need too many practices. Just one or two and bam, you're done. You're set. Hopefully it works for you that way. Yeah. Okay. I will
Excuse me,
sign
can
off.
I watch the video later on? Is it possible to get it?
Hurien,
email?
I know it has been recorded. Hurien, is there a way for them to get the video? Okay. So who should they contact? You. Okay, so do one thing, send a email to the front desk. I think if you go on the website, there's a link for an email. You just send it to them and explain that you were at the talk and you would like to have a video of the talk, and they will send it to you.
Okay, great.
Maybe it'll be
Thank you.
tomorrow. It needs some processing time.
Yeah, so send it tomorrow and
Just ask me today and I'll send out tomorrow.
yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks a lot.
Okay. I'm going to sign off. So see you all.